I'm Rachelle with Originally Worn, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to turn this gold lamp into more of an antique inspired vintage looking lamp. If you like this tutorial, be sure to share it with your friends and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also be sure to find us on Facebook under Originally Worn and online at originallywornonline.com. The first thing you're going to need to do is disassemble your lamp. So you'll spin your thing, your little guy off the top most likely, and take your shade off. You can actually paint the lamp shades with anti-Sloan paint also. I'm not going to. And here's my lamp, and I'm going to tape right here on the base, and then you'll need to have cleaned it well with just some light dish soap and water. The first step you're going to do is take your anti-Sloan graphite paint, and I'm going to take my large anti-Sloan round pure bristle paintbrush, and I'm going to put a layer of it all over. You can see how it doesn't go on very solidly right now because this is such a slick surface. On anything like that, metal, things that are super slick, your first coat looks pretty rough. So I'm going to paint a layer all over. The first coat is now dry, and you can see how it's pretty streaky still. Anything metal like that, like this lamp was, just won't cover solidly in a first coat. So we're going to put a second coat of graphite over everything. So now my anti-Sloan graphite has dried, and I actually put a coat of a Rust-Oleum dead flat clear sealer all over it to kind of seal this anti-Sloan paint. You could use a variety of different sealers, but before you do the next step, you have to seal your anti-Sloan paint. So the next step I'm going to do is an Aristan Enhancements Crackle Tex. So this gives like a crackle finish, and if you use a round anti-Sloan brush and put it kind of on in a stippling effect, it'll give you an irregular crackle all over. So I'm just gonna get some on there, and I want a ton of crackle, so I'm just really gonna like goober this all over. And I'm trying not to go over the same spots a lot twice. You don't want to really mess with this stuff too much. You can kind of see there. You got some stippling, thicker and thinner spots. The direction that you put on this crackle will mean the direction of how your crackles go in the end. This will kind of give me like a chipped paint effect. If you brushed linearly, you would have linear crackles. And so I'm kind of going for a full-on old, crusty, chipped, not a perfect crackle actually effect. So I'll do this all over, let it dry. Now that I've let the Crackle Tex dry overnight, in comes the fun part. I'm going to be using anti-Sloan Old White, anti-Sloan French Linen, and then I have my anti-Sloan Graphite too. Reason being is that I don't want the whole thing to be like the gray and the white. I do want some black, but since I covered the whole thing with the Crackle Tex, I want to be able to kind of put the black where I want it to. So I'm going to open all of these, and I have 3 sea sponges and 3 paintbrushes. That being is that I'm going to kind of mix the colors on the actual lamp, not really before it. Get these out of the way. And when you're doing this crackle, it's best to not overwork the paint. But when you'll see what I'm gonna kind of take these sea sponges, and they make them in bigger and smaller. I just have these around here, and you can kind of help pull and grab some of that crackle to help it along. So I'm gonna start with my round brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of French linen, and I'm gonna kind of goob it on there. And it's kind of like the thicker it is in areas, the better. I'm gonna go around and do some French linen in spots. Can't quite see, but see if I can do it. That, and like I said, we're really, you know, we're irregular here. I'm gonna just keep spinning it and keep putting some of the first color on there. We'll get it all to kind of mush together here in a minute. Okay, and then I'm gonna go with some old white. I just want a little bit of old white, so I have just a teeny bit on my brush there. And I'm gonna come in with little specks of it in places. Definitely don't want like a cow looking kind of thing going on here. Mostly just layers of kind of neutral colors, but doing it this way kind of allows you to do it all at once and not sand in between all these layers. Ooh. You can start to see that it's starting to crackle here. Looks pretty scary right now. I'm gonna take some black now and kind of go over a lot of my areas again with the black. A little bit into the areas I've already kind of put on with this because I don't want them to be so stark. And I want it overall mostly to be a black lamp. So we're kind of, and this kind of mushes and grabs the crackle. I'm gonna put it thicker where it's still black anyway, because I don't mind the texture of the crackle to come through the black. I mean, especially since it's already there. You can start to see where it's kind of, it's becoming blended of all those three colors. So here's like a full black area. I'm just gonna go back with more black over top it all, just so it gives that crackle. And then I'm gonna kind of take my brush and kind of like twist it as I'm hitting these areas. Kind of help that crackle text along. We're almost have all the spots that are black with extra black there. And of course you can go back and forth with these. So now I kind of have it a little bit more blended. I'm gonna take my sea sponge and kind of twist and pull, and it kind of takes chunks off. Might be hard to see there from the camera, but it kind of takes these more crackly little spots off for more of like a chipped paint effect, which is very cool. You might need to have some water so you can clean this along the way. I just grabbed a second one, but where it's starting to, I'll see if I can get you a close-up. You can see how it's starting to come off there in areas. That's what I'm gonna do all over. And as it dries, it kind of is pulling off these chunks. It's activating that crackle text below and giving us a really crusty kind of thing that when I pull it, it's working good. Of course, where it's a little bit drier, it's pulling a little bit better. And the sea sponge shape gives it the irregular kind of feel to it. You could try to use like just a rag, but I like what is happening with the sea sponge here. So here's a close-up of kind of the pulled away, kind of chippy, crackled look to there. So now that I have kind of a base texture down in color, I want to make some of these areas a little bit more exaggerated. I could have done that while I was doing the Crackle Tex too, but kind of the more layers you have, the cooler it is in the end. So I'm gonna have a little bit more. I'm gonna take a sea sponge and like a little bit of French linen. Can I get some of that off? Kind of do some areas that have a little bit more to them. You can see kind of a spots there. I mean, I don't want it to look sponge painted, but with the crackle and all that, I do want it to look old. So I'm gonna do a little bit of this everywhere. It just makes a little bit stronger of a line. I'll see if I can show you what I mean. So you have a little bit stronger of an area. So I'll kind of go where areas have that color already and give it kind of almost like a stronger chip part would be. And just the sea sponge, of course, gives it an irregular shape. And I will do the same with the black though, because I want some stronger black areas too. And I'll probably do more of the black than anything else. Again, because overall, I'm wanting a black lamp. And you get enough layers here, it'll look like you can't tell what part's chipped and what part's cracked and what's on top, what's underneath. And I'm also gonna add a little bit of the old white. Now, this is gonna be very sparingly. Of course, I love the contrast of it with the white and the black. You can kind of see there the little dots. It's getting, this area is getting how I like it, right here. And you can add some a little bit thicker. This is definitely not like a symmetrical thing. It's just a feel where you might want it. So you have kind of that. It's looking old and chippy. Another trick you can do is you can use a paint scraper. You put a teeny bit, let me show you, on the edge there, and then you can like kind of drag it down and it'll give you kind of these chippy lines. It works a little bit better on a completely flat surface, where this is pretty round, but again, layers are good. So you can see kind of like that spot right there is from the paint scraper. And then another tool to use is this is a steel brush. You can use this, an old toothbrush, anything like that, and you can dip it in paint. Now this is messy, and then flick your paint. Especially looks cool. It'll be hard to see here on this camera, but I did it with the black. So you have teeny little black dots. So I'm gonna combine all these techniques and finish up this part of this lamp. Now that all of my layers are dry, I'm going to protect the whole thing with clear wax. To finish it off, I'm gonna put dark wax and black wax kind of all over in different little places to give it an antique look. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have something you want to do this finish on, comment below and let me know what you're going to work on. Otherwise, be sure to find us on Facebook under Originally Worn and online at originallywornonline.com. And be sure to subscribe. Happy painting!